Okay, that being said, I'm going to call this meeting of the East Veterans Elementary School Building Committee to order. We have a quorum, I believe, and this meeting will be recorded. I don't have that information in front of me, but it will be recorded. Oh, here we have it. Come on. In accordance with the state open meeting law, it will be, come on, open.
I can pull it up here if you like.
It's just slow here, just trying to wake up like me. Yeah, maybe you should pull it up. We wouldn't want to get it wrong. This meeting is recorded by video audio in accordance with the state open meeting law, consistent with the governor's orders suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law. Okay. All right. It all just disappeared. I don't know what happened.
Jonathan, how about if I say it? Is that all right?
You say it. My Zoom just quit. You can hear me, but I don't.
Yeah, and we still see you too, but this meeting is recorded by video and audio in accordance with the state open meeting law, consistent with the governor's orders suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law and banning certain gatherings such as in-person meetings. This meeting will be conducted by remote participation. The public may not physically attend this meeting, but every effort will be made to allow the public to view and to listen to the meeting in real time and participate when necessary.
Strange. Well, that being said, I can't see anything except, I don't know why. But I will just go on memory. The first order of business is the approval of the meeting minutes of
Roll call vote.
roll call vote for attendance. Sorry.
Yep. Jonathan Pope.
Here.
Ben Lemus.
Here.
Thank you. Kathy Clancy.
Here.
Thank you. Richard Sapphire.
Here.
Thank you. Matt Fusco. I don't know if I saw him. Amy Pasquarello.
I'm here. Matt will be joining us soon.
Okay. Grant Harris.
Here.
Thank you. John Dunn. John, you're muted. John?
Can you hear me? I'm here.
Can hear you. Yep. All right. There we go. Thank you. Gary Frisch.
Here.
Thank you. Katie Eunice. Don't know if I saw her. Tony Gross.
Yeah.
Thank you. And Stacy.
Here.
You all set.
Okay. Okay, I'm still working on trying to see you. As I believe the first order of business is the approval of the meeting minutes of March.
March 9th,
9th,
February
9th.
27th.
And February 27th. We didn't approve the meetings last meeting?
No.
We didn't.
It was a week. I guess it was a meeting a week later.
Okay, right.
Yeah, there are two meetings kind of right back.
Right, we had this special meeting, correct, sorry. So it's March 9th and February 27th, did you say?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Are there any corrections or omissions? Okay, hearing none.
I move that we approve the minutes from February 27th and March 9th. Did you say 9th?
Yes,
And March.
Second.
here, I'm back.
Right. Hold on, Jonathan. There may not have been the same people attending both meetings, so maybe you want to do
One
each
at a time,
Yep.
correct. Okay, let's just do the February 27th. I'll make a motion that we approve the meeting minutes as presented for February 27th, and I so move.
Second.
Okay. Is there any discussion, correction, or omissions? Seeing none. Chris, can we have a roll call vote?
Yes. Jonathan Pope.
Yes.
Ben Lemus.
Yes.
Thank you. Kathy Clancy.
Yes.
Thank you. Richard Sapphire.
Yes.
Thank you. I don't see Matt yet. Amy Pascarello,
Yes,
thank you. Grant Harris,
Yes.
thank you. John Dunn,
I abstain. I was not at that meeting.
yep. Gary Frisch,
Yes.
thank you. Tony Gross,
Tony?
Tony jump off.
No, he's
No,
here.
he's here.
Muted.
Oh, there you, yeah,
Yes.
thank you. And Stacy Capone.
I was not at that meeting either.
Okay, abstain,
Staying.
thank you. All set.
Okay, it passes with unanimously with two, with the exception of two abstentions. And now I'll make a motion that we approve the meeting minutes of March 9th. And are there any corrections or omissions? Seeing none, I'll make a motion that we accept them as presented, and I so move.
Second.
Okay. Chris, can we have a roll call vote?
Yes, Jonathan Pope,
Yes.
thank you. Ben Lemus,
Yes,
thank you. Kathy Clancy,
Yes,
thank you. Richard Sapphire,
Yes.
thank you. Amy Pascarello,
yes,
thank you. Grant Harris,
Yes.
thank you. John Dunn,
Yes.
thank you. Gary Frisch,
Yes.
thank you. Tony Gross,
Abstain, wasn't there.
and Stacy Capone,
Yes.
thank you.
Once again, it carries unanimously with one abstention, and it passes. So the next order of business is the approval of invoices, and I'm going to turn it over to Brian.
All right, here you can see the invoices we have for this month. Our first invoice is the requisition number 20 from W.T. Rich, and the amount of $2,877,355. This is for work for the month of March, both inside and outside the building, and it also includes some store materials worth about $240,000. That includes primarily lighting and some site materials. The next invoice is for Dorn Whittier. That's invoice number 47 in the amount of $95,554.50. This is for mainly for the contract administration in the month of March, but also includes some charges for some of the playground changes that were worked on, and also for some of the procurement on the technology items. The next invoice is for CBRE, invoice number TJIN 0035274. These are for project management services for the month of March for $60,000. Next, we have an invoice from UTS. That's invoice number 104989. That is for $1,200. This is for a site visit for the window testing. They actually weren't able to complete the full window testing, which would have been quite a bit more, but we were still charged for them coming out on the site. The next invoices are, well, we have actually quite a few of these. These are all for Apple. And there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 individual invoices covering different computer and TV equipment orders. So these 5 invoices total $33,545.75. So altogether, with the multiple invoices from Apple, there's a total of 9 invoices for $3,067,655.25. And I recommend that we approve these invoices for payment.
great.
That number is different than what's on the board,
Okay.
the final?
Yeah.
Which one is correct?
I believe it's what I just read you, but let me confirm that.
Well, it ends in 25 cents, so that would be the
Correct. Yeah.
second one.
Yeah, and also it's 9, it should be 14.
Okay. Are there any correct questions?
I have a question. What about do we already approve the Pro AV invoice?
I don't have an invoice for Pro AV.
You don't have an invoice for Pro AV?
Yeah, with some of the technology items, we've been communicating with Grant, who's on the call here as well. Because some of those they've invoiced for, but they invoiced prematurely. So the only ones that I've been told that they have received the goods for are the ones for Apple.
All right, Grant, can you look into that? Because
Yes.
Pro AV has been calling Kenny like a lot to get
Yeah.
paid.
And we've reached out to Scott Goodich because he's trying to follow up because some of their equipment they're going to store on their prem, so they may have received equipment, but it's not with us. So I'll follow up with Pro AV. I have a meeting with Scott in the morning at 9:30, and I'll get to the bottom of that.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, in order for us to be able to prove something that's stored elsewhere, we'll need transfer of title, insurance, and verification that it's all there, as ordered.
All right, so Jonathan, just so everybody knows, the total amount is the one that was in the package. $3,067,655.25.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, are there any more questions before we make a motion? Seeing none, I'll make a motion that we that we approve the 9 invoices, and don't have that number in front of me again, but if you could repeat.
$3,067,655.25.
Thank you. And I so move.
Second,
Is there any discussion? You still have your hand up, Stacy, by the way. Okay, Chris, could we have a roll call vote?
Yep, Jonathan Pope,
Yes.
thank you. Ben Lemus,
Yes.
thank you. Kathy Clancy,
yes,
thank you. Richard Safar,
Yes.
thank you. Amy Pascarello,
Yes.
thank you. Grant Harris,
Yes.
thank you. John Dunn,
Yes.
thank you. Gary Frisch,
Yes.
thank you. Tony Gross,
Yes.
thank you. Stacy Capone,
Yes.
thank you.
Okay, it passes unanimously. Thank you very much. And we'll move forward to our reports. Right.
See my screen now again. Okay. The next one here. So here you can see the latest shot. This was taken yesterday from the school project. We've been making a lot of good progress. Metal trim at the top of the building is just about done. We also have a number of the round windows that have already been installed, and even the front entry doors are in. The site work is also moving ahead. You can see some of the additional curbing down here in the front. We've also poured in the back patio. Here you can see the rebar that was laid a couple days ago as that was being poured. And we're also putting in fencing around the site and prepping for the sidewalk placement. So there's a lot of activity that's been going on. On the interior, you can see a lot of the cubbies here that are going in the various classrooms. Most of the casework is in for those rooms. Here you can see the corridor. Tell it's pretty well finished. A lot of people have been out to see the project already, so this will be familiar to them. But for those that haven't had a chance to see it, yeah, it's looking, especially on the 3rd floor, pretty much like a finished space. And we're beginning to do punch lists and get the initial cleaning done in those areas as well. and I have a couple more photos here from Building B. So the first one's here from the academic wing, Building A. And then here's some shots from Building B. This one here is over by the media center, looking out into the lobby space. And then you can see all the cabinets and the mailboxes for the staff that are down in the administration area. So overall, lots of good progress. And we have continued to track on time and budget so far throughout this project. We're very happy about that. It's been a challenging ride for us during this post-pandemic era in the construction business. And we continue to get new obstacles that come up every day. Last week, we were handed one that was a little bit big to swallow. We were told that the switchgear that was supposed to ship on the 5th did not, and that the delays on that switchgear are going to be quite a bit longer than we would like. So we are working on some plans to mitigate that. It is something that we've been watching very closely for many months. We've been following up with the manufacturer through the electrical subcontractor and the contractor to get updated ship dates. And they have been reporting that same ship date for over 6 months, all the way up until pretty much the day before it was supposed to ship. So that definitely did come as a surprise, as we had received, different information from the manufacturer all the way through. But we know that these things are an issue really, in many projects that we have. So it's something that we were paying close attention to. And even before we found out that there was going to be a delay with the switchgear, we had already been talking with the contractor about putting together alternate plans. So that has been progressing for some time. We just found out, as I said, about a week ago, so we don't have all the plans finalized yet, but we can tell you what we do have going on right now and what we've been able to accomplish since we first received notice of this just last week. So rather than running through all of that myself, I'll turn it over to John Rich from WT Rich Construction, and he can share with you what his team has been working on and how they are working to mitigate this potential delay so that we can still have an on-time opening for the school. So maybe I'll stop sharing so that we can see each other and turn it over to John.
Right. Thanks, Brian. Yeah, so the just a couple things on this. First off, the this type of like main switchgear for construction, and as well as some other large pieces of electrical equipment, have become a nationwide challenge in terms of supply chain. And the equipment that normally would take, say, 20 to 26 weeks from release to showing up on site is now more like 50 to 70 weeks. So we had this date, they told us of this date, April 5th, which was already later than what we had hoped when we did the original baseline schedule. They told us that quite some time ago. We had some provisions to figure out how to make that work, even though it was kind of late in the game, getting the switchgear that late. And we've been, as Brian mentioned, coming down the home stretch, especially, we were calling generally twice a week to find out, does everything look good? Is it on time? And we kind of learned a little bit about how the communication works, but the manufacturer's rep, who was checking the dates and telling us they were on time, they were going on the manufacturer's purchase order system, and it has a date on there, and that ship date was April 5th up until the evening of April 3rd, and when it switched and got pushed out quite a bit. So that's when all the alarms went off. Just the things we've been doing, we've had 3 meetings with the manufacturer and manufacturer's rep present. We're putting a full court pressure on them, telling them that's unacceptable, that we won't be able to open the school, that the claims and the financial consequences will be flying, that they've got to improve upon that. We have been placed on what they say, we've been assured we've been placed on the priority list of orders. And they they have committed to a slightly improved date. They originally, when the date shifted, it showed a date of shipping in August. And after I had to resuscitate myself and the entire team, we started having these conversations. They are now, they're really not going to commit to anything. They're saying 80% confidence it'll be July 7th or sooner. So what our team has been doing is we've been working on what's the plan to get us a backup plan, make sure the building is open on time, whether that's some temporary provisions to get us to some switchgear arriving in, say, middle of July, or whether that's a solution that actually takes us in case there's another slip or problem with the switchgear down the road. We're thinking about both of those things. The current kind of leading candidate, and I would say we are a day or two away from pulling the trigger on this, is we found a source to rent switchgear. The rental switchgear is a very similar piece of equipment. The switchgear we're looking for is 3,000 amps. It's their breaker configuration in the rental will be the same as what was specified on our project. There might be a few minor deviations, but nothing that would prevent us to use it on a temporary provision. We're just trying to get some other authorities, mainly the electrical inspector and the electrical engineer, the electrical consultant that's works for Doran Whittier, to confirm they don't have any issues with us using it on a temporary basis. So we're leaning very heavily to releasing that, and it's supposed to come in around a week. I'm a little skeptical that anything can be done in a week, so I've been telling people 1 to 2 weeks, and then we would install it and we would be able to activate power for the entire school off of that. That's the direction we're heading. In the meantime, we're actually doing, even without that equipment, we're doing one of the critical path items is to get the HVAC rooftop equipment started up. There's 7 units total. We've already started one of them on temporary power. We're now going to start 2 more next week using temporary power. And then we can even switch over and kind of hopscotch around, if you will, to do an additional 2 the following week. And then sometime around that time, that main switchgear or that rental switchgear will arrive, we'll connect it, then the whole building will have power, because there's other things besides the rooftop units that need to be powered and tested, like other terminal equipment for HVAC, security system, fire alarm, things like that. So this rental really gets us back on track as if the switchgear had shipped April 5th. It's only like a week slippage. And then we do, once we get sort of the temporary game plan well established, we are going to explore pretty hard, well, what is the feasibility of continuing to use the rental equipment and allow for occupancy and operation of the school in the event that the switchgear has an additional slip. That's really going to be between the electrical engineer, the electrical inspector, and the building inspector. And I don't think it'll just be a yes or no. I think it's acceptable if, you include X, Y, and Z, and we need to have those discussions. With that said, we haven't had those discussions yet for permanent. We're focused on the temporary. It's the best thing to keep the construction going on schedule. So when we first got the news, a lot of us were pretty shocked because it came out of nowhere, this delay. And if you asked me then, the chances of, opening up the school in time, I would have had some more concern. Right now, my confidence is extremely high that we're gonna navigate this and be able to open the school without a problem. Teachers moving in early August, school opening up the end of August for the students. So it's kind of like it's definitely an important part of communication for us to keep everyone informed of this. And there's, unfortunately, I wouldn't say there's zero risk of a delay that affects the opening of school, but I think we've got a very good plan now. We're having a high level of confidence. So we do want to make sure everyone's in the loop of what's going on and with a little bit of the background. And Ben, I don't know if you want to add anything before we open it up for questions.
Yeah, just a couple of things. So, first of all, appreciate Brian and John and their crews work on this. You know, I think this is another example of working through some difficult situations. You know, as John said, you know, this is a very rapidly moving situation. You know, there's more information. So I'll give you an update on, we've done some communication on this already, but things have improved, you know, and changed since just yesterday, you know, that sort of thing. So, but I appreciate that John's team has, you know, the lease option, you know, another set of switchgear that's very comparable. And then of course, the original switchgear, you know, and they're also making sure the testing continues. So when the switchgear does show up, we're already, you know, we're still on schedule with those things. So, so a couple of things, I think, just to reiterate, you know, we're informing folks of because of the very unlikely possibility that this has any impact on time frame, and but want to make sure you're in the loop. But really appreciate that we got some really good options, and as you know, I go on how you know, John and Brian go, and John has expressed, you know, just as he just did to all of you, you know, very high confidence that we're going to work through this, and you know, in a way that doesn't impact, you know, really anything, honestly. So that's another difficult situation. There have been difficult situations all throughout this process. You know, we're aware of a lot of them. Sometimes they're all dealt with by the project team before, you know, it ever elevates at all. So, you know, just an example of the team working together. I do want to give you an update on the communications we've already done on this. So, I thought it was a very smart, Matt Fusco, and I thought it was very smart to be knowing that we have to inform the school building committee and also the school committee about this. Brian, John, myself, Matt Fusco, all were at each school yesterday. So first East Gloucester, just after school ended, and informed the staff there of the situation in just very much the same language and message we're giving you. And then also went over to veterans as well over at St. Anne's and gave the staff there the same message. So I think people took it well. Obviously, people were concerned and you know, but I think they understood you know, that there's a very high confidence in that this will be sorted out, and also understood that, you know, that we are at least looking into, you know, what would be the last resort, right? So again, don't want to raise people's concerns unnecessarily, because this is a very small chance that there's any impact here, but want to make sure folks are well informed. You know, I think it would be, you know, one of the concerns on this is people hear the last resort or worst case scenario that there might be an impact or delay, and they run with that, you know, ignoring the reality, which is, you know, once again, our team is, you know, making a very good situation out of a very difficult situation, and that we're very confident that this will all be a blip and will be there on time as scheduled. It'd be irresponsible to you know, present it or communicate it in any other way than that. You know, and so we're just conscious about, you know, being open with folks, being transparent, and making sure folks know that, you know, that we have high confidence that we're all still in very good shape. And then also inform the school committee last night as well. In very much the same way we're doing right now. So let's open to questions that folks have, questions, concerns, anything that we're not being clear about, or you want further clarification.
I just wanted to add one more thing, Ben, to what you said. You know, a lot of this has to do with the timing of the school building committee meeting. So we have an obligation as we work for the city, also with the MSBA, to report about what's going on in the project. We do that from day one all the way to the closeout of the project. And since this is something that came up and we have a school building committee meeting, we have to inform them about what's going on in the project. If this had come up 3 or 4 weeks ago, it's very likely that it would have been fully resolved before anyone was even given notice of this. As a matter of fact, we've had all kinds of issues on this project that have come up. That's kind of typical for construction. Construction is a risky business. There's always different challenges that come up almost daily, definitely weekly. And it's our job to address those and mitigate those issues to keep the project moving forward on time and on budget. And just as an example, relatively recently, we were also dealing with some issues with National Grid and getting the transformer installed. And I think I did communicate that to the school building committee in a recent meeting. And that also, was very concerning, but we were able to work together as a team, get some support from National Grid and from the city. And we got that transformer installed on time. And that's available now to power up the building. So yeah, we continue to have challenges, but we also continue to have successes as we work together on a team. And I expect that this will be no different.
Questions we can answer for folks? Okay,
I see none. I would just like to thank
Actually-
everybody who's worked so hard. This is when John said, after we recovered, I know exactly the feeling. And they've done, once again, a marvelous job of trying to resolve issues and move this project forward. And I'd just like to thank the whole team. So.
Thanks, Jonathan. We wish we didn't have
Our
to
pleasure.
solve the problems, but sometimes it happens.
Yeah, that's why we hired you.
Well, if there were no problems, I don't think we'd have any work.
Exactly.
Okay, so if there are no more questions, we'll move on with the update. Got a few other things to go over. So let me pull up my screen here. Okay, so running through the update, not really too much to report on changes in project activities. Most of them are the same. Although we have recently been having more meetings with the lead consultants to position the school as best we can to get the highest lead rating. Right now, we're confident that we should be able to get a silver rating, and we're also striving to make the gold. So that looks pretty promising, but there's still a number of items that need to come together before we'll know for sure exactly where we land. As for project funds, nearly all the budget has been accounted for now as we work through the final FF&E selections. To date, we've used a little bit of contingency, but we remain still in very healthy financial standing on this project. So that is always very exciting, and that also helps us as we handle these other challenges that we face. Billing, for the OPM, designer, and CM are well underway as we're nearing the end of the job. The owner's billings will be jumping up significantly as the bills for the furniture, the equipment, and the technology start to roll in. We talked about a few of those just a little bit ago when we were approving the recent invoices. Our contracts to date are at 62.7 million. We do have a few more contracts to award, mainly for the equipment, which we'll actually be going over a little bit later. On PCOs, we still have a fair amount, that's in there. That's about 700,000. Currently, about 50 open debit and credit PCOs. We've issued over 100 already to date, but we still have some holds that we'll be able to draw from on some of these, and we're working that out to what would roll over to the GMP or not. But either way, it's not going to have a significant impact on the GMP. We still stand at 3 change orders to date for about 300,000, and most of that has been for adding back items to the project that we had to cut out once we got the bids that were over in the beginning. So we're happy that we've been able to manage this successfully on a financial basis and be able to add some of those items back in. Cash flow really hasn't changed significantly here. You can see we're still hovering around $3 million a month in billings. These are mostly the same. You can see that the owner's billings has started to pick up, and like I said, that's going to jump quite a bit as we start getting these invoices in for all the items that we're ordering. Looking at the schedule, you can see we're really getting to the end of this long bar here that we've been working on since 2022. The most recent schedule that we received from the contractor a few days ago shows that the substantial completion date is 20 days off what's in the contract. So just to be clear on this, the substantial completion date is when the project is mostly finished. That was set for the first part of June. So even with this impact, the substantial completion date is still tracking to June. So well before we need to get the teachers in and get everything up and going for the school to start. So there's a little bit of contingency that was built into that schedule. That's kind of a responsible thing to do when we plan these things out, because there's always some stuff that ends up affecting it. So we should still be in good shape with that, even with the switchgear issues that we discussed a little bit ago. And then pointing out our next meeting will be May 11th. So we'll be quite a bit further along at that point. So as we look through kind of each of the main parties, what everyone has been up to, the OPM continues to be very busy on the job. You know, we're reviewing site work, change orders, reports, etc. We've been able to get almost all the technology purchase orders issued. You might recall, you know, we had that meeting last month to approve a not to exceed amount. And I spoke with Doran Whittier just a little bit ago today to get an update on a meeting from last Friday. So there's just very few minor items that are still outstanding. And those look to be resolved, I would say, probably within the next week. So I guess the short of that is everything is pretty much on track and wrapping up nicely. We're also working with the school district on planning the upcoming move and the liquidation of surplus supplies and equipment from both of the schools. So I was happy to make a phone call today to STV. STV is going to be our move manager. They'll be working closely with Gary Frisch on leading, you know, the school through the packing process, getting the mover on board, and coordinating all these things. There's just a lot of moving pieces that need to be looked out for, and it's important to have someone that can solely focus on that and keep everyone in line and make sure that nothing is missed. So they had very good references. We've also worked with them ourselves on another project and had a lot of success with that. So we're looking forward to them getting going on that as soon as possible and getting the mover locked in so we have the date to get all the existing equipment and supplies moved over from the existing building. We've also met with MSBA. We do that usually monthly. They were on site. We walked through the building. They were very happy with how things looked and really liked the design of the building. So it's always nice to get that kind of feedback. We also received some comments from them on the recent change orders that have been executed. So, I mean, generally the stance from the MSBA is that they don't participate in change orders. Now, this situation is a little bit different because we've had some value engineering that needed to be done that was kind of different to what they originally approved. So we're trying to work with them as best we can to get some assistance. And although I can't promise that, you know, anything will be one way or the other, I have been told by the MSBA that they were willing to contribute to the cell booster that we added to the project. So that helps to offset some of that. So that's nice that they'll be participating in that cost increase that was incurred on the project to make sure that there's a good cellular communication throughout the building. So what else? Yeah, I mean, we continue to track, manage project financials, and, you know, work with the CM as discussed earlier on a lot of these critical schedule issues that are right now, I would say, our primary point of concern. Looking at updates within the community, there's not really anything substantial to report on. You know, we continue to have the security lighting on site, and we have deliveries that have been going on last month and this month, some larger items to the site sometimes that come in, but there haven't been any problems with that. And we do continue to send out updates and notices to all the neighbors. We have been working 6 days a week now, since almost since January. So that is an extra push that we've been putting forth to keep the project on track. But we have mitigated any noise and disturbances by starting the work a little bit later than we do during the week to allow people, quiet when they sleep in on the weekend, which some of us like to do. All right, on the design side, the design team continues to process a lot of the RFIs, review the submittals, and inspect the work to ensure it meets the requirements of the contract. To date, there's been 74 individual items that they've identified to be addressed. So that's a lot of the quality control on the project. We're also having the commissioning agent involved, and there's additional write-ups from them about things that need to be addressed. So this is all part of the normal process, the checks and balance, to make sure that in the end you have a high-quality building that's functioning and ready to go for the school department. The design team is also trying to get the FF&E wrapped up. We've issued all the contracts for the furniture, technology I mentioned a bit ago. So the last one is the equipment selection. And those have been ongoing now, I would say, since after Christmas. Josh Perrine from Doran Whittier has been working with the school district to go through all the individual selections for different departments. And, while we do have a new school, and I would say it's going to be mostly new equipment, we've really also been focused on reusing as much of the existing equipment as possible, especially all that stuff that's in good condition. That way we're making good use of the taxpayer money. We don't want to be wasteful with that by any means. And also really better for the environment, because we don't want to put things out in a landfill if there's still some life left to them. So we're going to be looking at those selections and costs here in just a minute. Yeah, so let me actually just switch to that next slide here. So here you can see where we were with the furniture procurement. So these are all the purchase orders that have already gone out. We had a budget, let's say, of 588. So we had a combined budget of 748 that included equipment and furnishing. So if you subtract the equipment, that left us at about 588. We awarded 737 as a not to exceed amount, and that put us about roughly $150,000 over our furniture budget. But the reason that we were over was because when we went through the value engineering stage and we had to find areas to cut, one of the things that we did is we took the metal bookcases out of the construction contract and we assigned it to the furniture instead. So that kind of artificially pushed that number up. The second reason was that we made a decision to furnish individual desks for all students rather than shared tables. And the cost between the tables and the desks are almost the same. So because we had additional quantities, that also pushed the price back up. But with this, like I said, we're still tracking within our budget, so it's not really concerning. Next, we issued the purchase orders for the technology. Now here, our budget was 748.
Brian, just one quick question to confirm. We don't anticipate any delivery timing issues with the furniture, correct?
That's correct, yeah. So with the technology procurement, we had a budget of 748,000. We authorized a not to exceed amount of 690,000. So that was well under our budget, at least 58,000. But within that, there are also some contingencies and kind of worst case scenario items that you can see listed here with like the furniture, contingency line item, and even the telephone system. So some of those are actually likely to go away. We don't have the final details on that yet, but that could push our underage up to $100,000. So that would be a significant amount, and that's going to help to offset some of the overage on the furniture budget. So here, as we're looking at the equipment here, you can see some examples of the kitchen equipment. So this is a purchase order that Josh has prepared. This is ready for execution. So here, the individual line item for that budget was $17,000. And the authorization request for this particular one is under that for an amount of $16,202, about an $800 savings from our budget. So what we want to do now, though, is we want to authorize the full scope of the equipment. And the reason we need to do that is because of timing. These contracts are very close to being ready to go, but we have our meetings once a month. So we wanted to take this opportunity to authorize this equipment for a not to exceed amount of the budget of $160,000. So depending on where everything comes in with the other ones, that would put us about $50,000 to $100,000 over on the FF&E budget. But like I said, that's because we pushed over these bookcases into that budget. If we take that out, we would actually be under by about $85,000 to $125,000. So on the right here, you can see what these purchase orders will be covering. So general equipment, kitchen, PE, so forth. It's a description of all the different items that are being ordered and the budget amounts that we have signed to each of those. As I just said, the kitchen one, you can see here, it was $17,000. This one is ready to go. And the purchase order that we want to issue is for less than that at just over $16,000. So before we open it up to questions, what I'd like to do is turn it over to Josh Farine from Doran Whittier. Josh is the one that's been working closely with the faculty at both schools and with Principal Fusco on getting these selections in place, and he can kind of talk us through the process and sort of where we stand on that. So I'll stop sharing my screen so we can see each other again and turn it over to Josh.
Thanks, Brian. Yeah, so like Brian was saying, we're kind of nearing the end of the process for equipment. We've spent a couple of months working with some of the staff. Mac has been pretty involved in working with a lot of the heads of the departments to try and figure out what each kind of group will need for the new school. A lot of the equipment, the reviews we've done is a little bit of looking at what they need versus what they potentially might save in the future, just like Brian was saying. Generally, though, our process so far is where we've started getting some pricing in. We're going to be doing some final iterations to kind of review any changes, and just pretty much similar to what we've done with furniture, just working with staff and reviewing the equipment that way.
Okay. Thanks, Josh. So yeah, like I said, we're well along. We're ready to issue this first kitchen purchase order, and I would say within the next few weeks we should have a number more, if not all of them, that are fully ready to go. So if there are any questions, we'd be happy to answer them. Otherwise, I'd like to ask for a vote to approve the equipment selections for a not to exceed amount of $150,000. Does anyone have any questions about the equipment procurement?
Yeah, Brian, yeah, I guess I do. So these all fall within reimbursable categories for MSBA?
Yes, they do.
Okay, all right, great, thank you.
Very important question. Any other questions? Okay, seeing none, I'll make a motion that we proceed with the purchase orders for the equipment as we've just been shown for a not to exceed amount of $160,000, and I so move.
Second.
Oh,
Is any discussion, Ben?
I think Stacy, your hand up?
Yeah, I just want to confirm with Josh, this is all a part of that contract that's already procured, the like the statewide contract.
Yeah, we'll be doing the, similar to the furniture, it'll be the same public state contract, MHEC process that we've been doing.
All right, and it's just supplies, right? There's
Yeah.
no install.
Yeah,
Right.
the, generally it's deliveries, just most of them will be just dropped off.
Okay, all right, I just want to make sure. All right, thank you. Okay.
Yeah, this is stuff, you know, I won't share the screen again, but just like looking through here, includes like mat, a nursing suite, medical equipment, some cleaning machines, vacuum, storage bin, things like that, office supplies, those types of things.
Okay, is there any further discussion? Okay, we have a motion and a second. So Chris, can we have a roll call vote?
Yes, Jonathan Pope,
Yes.
thank you. Ben Lomas,
Second. Yes.
thank you. Kathy Clancy,
Yes.
thank you. Richard Sapphire,
Yes.
thank you. Matt Fusco. You're muted, Matt.
Yes.
Thank you. Amy Pasquarello.
She had to leave.
Oh, okay. Grant Harris,
Yes.
thank you. John Dunn,
Yes.
thank you. Gary Frisch,
Yes.
thank you. Tony Gross,
I think Tony left.
okay. And Stacy Capone,
Yes.
thank you.
I'm here now too, Katie Eunice.
Oh, Katie, I'm sorry.
I had to show up at 5, sorry.
Not a problem. Thank you.
Jonathan and Brian, I want to just say a couple things on this. So, want
Well,
to,
let me
Josh.
just-
Oh, go ahead.
We just had the vote. Let me just declare it voted, okay?
Sorry.
So it passes unanimously. Thank you very much. And Ben, you'd like to address this?
Thank you, Jonathan. So first, Josh, really appreciate your working with us so closely and so, just, just consistently, regularly, everything, you keep showing up, which is a big help. And then also want to particularly call out Matt. Matt is
yeah.
making so many decisions right now, but he's getting input from folks and, and having a great balance between input and then moving forward. He knows when to, call in some help. Typically that's Amy Pasquarello on things. But on occasionally it's me, but just really making good decisions, making them carefully, making them, in a timely fashion. But just Matt, I want everyone to know, you're really, pulling out all the stops here and just doing a ton of work. So thank you so much. Really appreciate you.
I appreciate that, and I'm gonna enjoy that moment.
Yeah. You do that.
All right. Yeah,
thank
kudos.
you. In all seriousness. thank you.
So another thing I was going to mention, I didn't think of this until just now, but since Josh is here on the line with us. So, we've been talking about this for a number of months to get the artwork together for the school. And, we weren't sure if we could pull it off because, well, I guess we went down a lot of roads that had dead ends. But I understand now that based on some help, I think, from Kathy Clancy for one of the pieces, and then also the school department that has advertised to the city that we're looking for some photographs, that we have a good assortment of artwork to choose from. And I believe it's likely that we'll be able to make final selections and get them to the contractor in time to get that installed in the school. Is that correct, Josh?
Yeah, it sounds like we've gotten some submissions from the city for photography that I think need some just final review, but they were looking pretty good. Yeah, so it's finally coming together. It's been like a little bit of a process trying to get stuff to make this school look really great and add that kind of final touch to it. So we're almost to the finish line with that stuff. So
We did.
Yeah, that's great.
So Mike Gaffney and I, one of my colleagues, we reviewed those photos and and I know he shared them with Josh, so I know we're really set on the mural, which is just, great, and Kathy's really been helpful with that. We gotta look through those photos carefully. I'm not sure we're quite there with all of them yet, but we're definitely making progress. with that.
Okay.
Yep. And the other thing is, it looks like it's an early spring this year. So if we have submissions and photos, maybe we'll be able to do it sooner than we expected.
Yeah, if it stays like it is today. Sure.
Things we leaped out in no time.
Okay, well, let's continue to wrap up here. A few more updates there. The first one here is just what's been going on with our construction management team. So they continue to be very busy, on site with the activity at the workplace, the change orders, chasing materials, trying to keep things on schedule. There's a lot of work going on within the building, but now also that the weather has warmed up, we have a lot of work going on the site as well. But the biggest thing, I think we've all talked about this before already, is focusing on getting that permanent power set up so that we can have all the equipment started up in time and all the test runs, and then we can get the school open. So let's see, what else do I have here? Yeah, so switching to their updates here. So we have these are the milestones that we've been tracking for some time. So all of these have been actualized. So going next month, we'll set up a new group of milestone activities that guide us kind of to the end of the job, and then watching the dates on those. And also, this is where we are in the schedule. So you can see we're very close to the substantial completion date. So once we actually have some solid understanding of the exact dates that we expect to hit substantial completion, as I said, right now we're working through these paths. We have a rough understanding that's pretty good, but we still need to work through some of the details and get those ironed out. So at that point, we'll update the schedule as well, so that it gives us a very clear indicator of what we're tracking to. So at this point, we can get on to the exciting part. I think a lot of people have commented that they like this part of the presentation. So I'll turn it over to Alex Corbett from WT Rich to narrate this month's drone video.
Thanks, Brian. Try to take you home here. Can you see my screen? The drone video?
I see Michelle Rogers' hand raised, and I don't know if it's.
Michelle, don't interrupt me. This is my time, not yours.
Sorry, I hit the wrong button. Take it away, Alex.
All right, so this drone video was taken yesterday. So you can see Brian mentioned we've got that kind of what we're considering like the eastern patio complete. That's where your dumpsters and a lot of the loading zones going to be into that overhead door that you can see with my mouse cursor here. So we're working our way, I guess, clockwise around the building. We're getting this area prepped as well. This whole area out front is going to be that brick paver material that I think we've talked to a few of you about. So we're really trying to set the edge with our concrete to get that paver installed the right way. So again, we're working our concrete sidewalks around this way. You can start to see some of the landscape curb going in out front. Those will be tied into those granite benches that, again, we've talked about before. We're starting to clean up this retention area. We've used it mostly for storage throughout the process, but those Connex boxes are going to be going away within the next couple of weeks, and we'll start to clear up that area. A lot of the curbs been installed. We continue to pick away at that. That obviously helps set our boundaries for sidewalks, and like I said, the pavers before. You can see the boulders. We actually salvaged a lot of these from the site through our excavations. So the landscape architect has been able to kind of incorporate those to the front entrance point to the school and to the site. So it's kind of a neat feature that we'll be setting in the next couple of weeks. Again, as Brian mentioned, a lot of the metal wall panels have been set. We're probably 70-75% through that at this point. You can see sort of the color. I'm sure as many of you have driven by, you can see the color starting to pop at a lot of these metal wall panels, which again is kind of a cool feature. What else? RTUs on the roof have been set for quite a while now. We're getting into that process of commissioning, which is tied to permanent power and switchgear that we talked about earlier. So, you know, we have that RTU one started up already. We kind of worked out some of the kinks, and over the next, what, 4, 5, 6 weeks, we're going to be working out the kinks for these other 6 or 7 units. I neglected to mention out front that playground area, actually, not to stall here, but not sure if you can actually see it. Yeah, you can see it right here. That playground area gets surrounded by curbing as well. So you can kind of see, you know, one of our satellite playground areas out front, getting the drainage in now, with the primary, you know, larger structures in the turf field out back. So I did just want to point that out as we're starting to build that. Yeah, that's pretty much kind of where we're at with site progress, building exterior progress at the moment. Again, kind of coming down the final stretch here as we get to June, but a lot of these site finishes are starting to come together. We'll be able to pull the heaters out back within the next couple of days, which will open up a lot of this back area to get for sidewalks and planting beds and more of those amenities around the site. So hopefully a good group of you have been able to walk. I think we're looking to set up another walkthrough. Kathy, I think you mentioned at the beginning of this meeting with the school building committee. So I'm hoping to see you guys over there pretty soon, see the progress going on.
Matt, you have your hand raised?
Yeah, Alex, I had a question. The Ben and I were wondering, the area between the cafeteria on the exterior, the area between the cafeteria and the gymnasium, what's that like? If right now it's like a rough like band across. We were just wondering what that's going to be finished with.
Are you saying right here, Matt?
Yeah.
Yeah, right there. Yeah.
So that gets those granite benches and the brick pavers. So it's kind of a nice patio walkout area at the front.
No,
of the school.
on the building itself, you can see
Oh.
white area there underneath the gym.
Right here?
Yeah, right along there. Like, how's that getting finished?
That gets a metal wall panel cap.
It is.
So that,
All right.
yeah, that'll kind of continue this whole band along the front.
Great.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And then if you just hold that there, Alex, I believe this is this front area where we put the pavers will be called the plaza, right? Is that where we're calling the plaza, Matt Fusco?
I was really excited to hear that on Saturday. I love a plaza is so cool. Gotta have a plaza.
It sounds a little bit like, you know, so European, Italian, there are a lot of great Italian cities that have plazas, so.
It's going to be a nice space. I think with the connecting pieces, you know, drop off, pick up both here and here. I think that's going to be a pretty highly used space out front, hopefully for you guys. And with those benches added in, I think that's going to be a nice sitting feature, right?
Absolutely. I completely agree. I'll be calling it the plaza.
You're just waiting for your statue fountain to be put in front, aren't you?
Eventually it will be called the Matt Fusco Plaza, but
You keep waiting. You keep waiting, Matt.
I'm not sure the MSBA will reimburse, but Brian can maybe work his magic on that one.
See what I can do.
We can have a fundraiser for that.
I'm counting on you, Brian. You owe me.
Yeah. We'll
Alex-
have you play your bass. We can raise some money with that.
Alex, can I just ask a quick question? Any issues with seagulls on the roof?
Not that I'm aware of, John.
Okay, just, we obviously have had that issue within the city many times before. Depending on where the wind's blowing, when Gorton's is making fish sticks, they're active, so.
I think the white roof has really deterred them. I don't know,
Good,
like West
good.
Parish and some of the newer roofs that are white. I don't think they're
And
dropping
and
their
we put
crab
the white
shells on
roof
those.
Yeah, we put the right roof on the high school for that
Yeah.
exact reason. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, thank
At
you.
old veterans, we didn't have a seagull problem.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. So we can take away this screen there, Alex. Thank you. So yeah, Kathy, we talked right before the meeting started about wanting to set up another time for the school building committee to come through the school. So if we want to talk about that now and set a date, we can do that.
A little where you're trying to set a date with this many people on a phone call, but want to do a window and then we'll send out some times and dates and let's maybe ideas, Kathy?
Let's pick a week.
So
Next week.
we had the city council started a tour during the week at 3:30, and then the school committee, because of student schedules, we did a 10 a.m. on Saturday, which the project team was really kind and accommodating. But I think maybe this group is probably a weekday group. So it depends on the project team.
So, yeah, I mean, pretty much, please jump in, Alex, if there's a change, but pretty much, I think any day around that time, after school is out, 3:30, that's usually when the contractors are wrapping up their work. They start very early on the site. That would be fine.
Yeah, that works for us.
So I guess we can just, pick a week and pick a day, and if there's any objections, otherwise we'll make that
Well,
date.
Next week's school vacation, I'm assuming we don't want to do it during school vacation. So the week after, the week of the 24th. Okay. And what day works better? People are already committed to Thursdays. How about Thursday, the 27th?
Second.
Okay, so well, we have the okay, no, that's not, sorry. Yep, that's 2 weeks later. Okay, that's fine. Yep.
Okay. All right, so tentatively 3:30 on April 27th.
I think it's the 29th.
No, it's 27th.
Yeah, 27th.
April 27th. Yeah, that's Thursday.
April 27th is a Thursday. I'm looking at the calendar.
I'm wrong.
Okay, forgive you.
Okay. Anything else? I'm sorry again that I after we changed it to 4:30, I didn't change it on my calendar. That being said, anything else before we adjourn? Seeing nothing, I will make a motion to adjourn.
So seconded.
Okay, Chris, can we have a roll call vote?
Yes, Jonathan Pope,
Yes.
you, Ben Lummis,
Yes.
you, Kathy Clancy.
Yes.
Thank you, Richard Sapphire.
Yes.
Thank you, Matt Fusco.
Yes.
Thank you. I don't see any Pascarello. Grant Harris.
Yes.
Thank you, John Dunn.
Yes.
Thank you, Gary Frisch. Gary, you're muted.
Even if he votes against it. we can-
Yes. Sorry.
We'll still get a quorum. Katie Eunice.
Yes.
Thank you. Tony Gross.
He's gone.
I thought I saw, okay, I thought he rejoined, sorry. Stacy Capone. Stacy,
Yes, can you not hear me?
I can hear you now. Perfect. Thank you. All set.
Okay, this meeting's adjourned. Thank you all very much, and we'll see you all soon.
Thank you, everybody.
Nice meeting you, everyone.
Thank you.
Yeah, we'll see you all soon
you.
at the site, at the school.
Yay.